Good evening, drag experts. My name is Jer. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my wish list for a Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans Season 2. Now, I want to preface all this by saying that I have heard the Boulets podcast where they specifically said that they don't think they want to do another Titans season. What the problem was for them with the original Titans season was that everyone was self-producing. Everyone came in with storylines that they wanted to tell. They wanted to rehabilitate their relationship with the fans and with each other in the way that they wanted to. And even though the Boulets did have a plan for how they wanted the season to go, the contestants came in and completely undermined all of that. And they really didn't feel like they got to appreciate the experience for what it was supposed to be because of the way that everyone handled and conducted themselves. In my personal opinion, I feel like Victoria was really the only one who came in ready to compete and to battle, while everyone else had their little plot lines and sub-stories they wanted to hash out and share in the way that they wanted to, and not trusting in the process that the Boulets or the Boulet production was going to be there for them to manage them correctly. I say all this ahead of time to preface that I don't think this would ever happen, so I might as well go balls to the walls with it, since I really don't think we will ever see another Titans again. I wouldn't be mad if we saw something like Resurrection, where each one of the monsters gets 3 prompts, they have to do all those prompts, and then at the end of it, there's a monster winner of the Resurrection series, and that's it, and everyone else goes back to hell and dies. I wouldn't mind something like that, but I would really love another Titans season. So let's start out from the earlier seasons and move our way towards the more recent ones. From season 1, I would love to see Frankie Doom return, and that's because Frankie is a powerhouse of drag. Frankie made it as far as they did for a reason. Frankie was one of those who was just so ahead of everybody else and so far ahead of the vision, and I think was really the only true contender who could have beaten Vander. From season 1 and Titans 1, I would actually enjoy seeing Melissa return to the competition. I think her time in Titans was so tainted by what was happening at home, and I think that turbulent, tumultuous situation was not good for her mental health being there. She didn't get to showcase her best self, or what she really wanted to show because she was so distracted week after week by what was actually happening. And very few people knew, and it took a lot of prodding to get her to talk about it. I think coming in with a fresh, new perspective without being clouded by all of the drama happening at home, I think that Melissa could have a really good showing and potentially go even further than she did the first time she was on Titans. And I think it would really hammer in how much the Boulets really do care about their monsters and how well they want them to succeed on the show and beyond by allowing Melissa another chance to come back and really give it her all this time. From season 2, I would like to see Disasterina, and this is because Disasterina was exactly that. She was a disaster. Week after week, she was doing her own thing. And I loved that, and I think the Boulets loved that too. The utter chaos of what Disasterina would bring to each challenge and theme would be so fun as an audience for us to witness. Now, do I think that Disasterina would go to the halfway point of the competition? Absolutely not. I think Disasterina would be a super early out, but I would love to see that early chaos just to see what she would do. Skipping right on forward to season 3, because we had a lot of season 2 representation the first time around, I would love to see Dahlia Black, and that's because Dahlia's a cauldron stirrer. And I think that dynamic with someone like Melissa and Frankie would be so fun to see. And having this legacy, like she already did the first time around with being compared to Victoria, coming in and really stamping out a deserving place to win next to Victoria would be such a cool storyline to see. And I think could work in her favor because she really worked on not being compared to Victoria her first time around. And I would like to see that level of polish because every week, in my opinion, Dahlia was coming in with a level of polish that not a lot of the other contestants that season were. Next from season 3 is trans icon Priscilla Chambers. One of the really first, in my opinion, absolutely filth-focused contestants that have ever come through Dragula. I think Priscilla's very specific aesthetic while in drag and very specific direction that she takes all of the Boulé prompts would lead itself to a spectacular floor show presentation. I think that Priscilla has so much dynamicism as a TV personality and is willing to make a show without needing to steamroll and tell her own story. I think we saw that during Resurrection, and had Saint not done so well in the Ghost and the Vampire Challenge, I think it's very possible that we would have seen Priscilla come back with Dali for season 4. I think Priscilla has an incredible point of view, and I would like to see that elevated to the next level where she's at right now. I wanted to see her so badly in season 4, but I also really wanted to see Dali and Saint. There were so many from that special I would have loved to have seen more from, and I would hope that the Boulés would give her a chance if the event ever happened. Again from season 3 is absolute icon Louisiana Purchase. What I loved about Louisiana is that week after week after week, she was doing her own thing. She heard the prompts and the challenges and said, I'm gonna churn it out the way that I want to. And I think that's what made her so special. I think a lot of Boulé contestants get the prompts and they do what they think the Boulés want to do. But Louisiana was always doing things her way and was doing things with a silly sort of vaudeville, burlesque twist. And I loved that. I loved that each week we weren't sure what we were going to get because how off book was it going to be, but how perfectly Louisiana was it going to be? I think we would get that exact same level on a Titan season. Much like Disasterina, I don't think Louisiana would go super far, but it would be nice to see her again. Next from season 3 is queer icon Maxi Glamour. I really enjoyed Maxi's aesthetic. I enjoyed their personality, and I think coming back to a Titan season, I think they would have a chance to show even more than the first time around. I think that Maxi was always in their head, and they were always a little detached from the competition, and I would love to see them be able to come back with more focus, more drive, more determination, because I think they could make it well past the halfway point. From season 4, and the only one from season 4 that I would like to return, is Sigourney Beaver. I loved Sigourney every single week. I hated the constant narrative that Sigourney was not a monster the way that everyone else was, because I felt like it was highly rooted in misogyny. Every week, Sigourney was doing the challenge exactly how the Boulés asked them, filtering it through her lens. And while I think some contestants have been accused of not being a super monster, I think the more valid critique of those particular artists was that they weren't filtering their monstrousness through their specific lens of drag. Sigourney was always filtering her monstrosity through her style of drag in the same way that I think Louisiana and Priscilla did. But these contestants were always doing drag, horror, filth, glamour through who they were. And Sigourney is no exception. I think Victoria is the closest to a glamour monster that we have in the roster. And I think that Sigourney would do a great job at also representing that pillar of Dragula. And I think Sigourney would very clearly be top 3. Now we move into the season 5ers, and I first off want to see Jarvis Hammer. And I know that the Boulés have also said that they would like to see Jarvis in some type of Titans or Titans adjacent season. And I think a lot of people would agree. Jarvis was way too in his head, way too anxious the whole time, way too worried about what was happening behind the scenes and how he would be perceived, how he could apply his character to the challenges. But Jarvis had an incredible perspective on drag. Jarvis had a well fleshed out character. Jarvis had all the tools to do well at Dragula, but just failed slightly a couple of different times. And I think that with another time around, a new renewed sense of self, Jarvis could come back even stronger. Next from season 5 is one of my absolute favorites, and that is JK. I think that what they do how they present themselves, how they chose to conduct themselves this season, reflected somebody who really needed some time to cook. They needed some time to see themselves on TV, adjust a little bit on how to present that package, and then come back even stronger the next time around. I think that Jay could have been one of the most intense competitors of that season, and the only reason why Jay went home was because they got in their own way. I think another time around, they'd be even better. They wouldn't hold back anything. And in a cast like this, we need a really big personality with a strong drive and a strong narrative of who they are to make it all the way to the end. And I think this time around, Jay could do it. Finally, from season 5, another one of my absolute favorites who I thought their time got cut a little too soon, and that's Anaphylactic. Anna was one of those monsters that was always doing the prompt correctly, but just wasn't doing it strong enough. Anna was doing things for the stage and for the nightclub, but wasn't quite thinking of how it would translate to Dragula. I feel like Anna was always just a little bit caught up in not knowing how to present themselves without steamrolling others or without coming off haughty, was always trying to be proper and quiet and stayed in her lane. It wasn't until really the end that Anna started to come out, and by that point it was too late. Anna's one of my favorite drag queens of all time and has been someone I've looked forward to seeing on television in some capacity for many, many years. And while she didn't disappoint me, I did feel like she was too restrained. And I think another time around the block, she would be less restrained and ready to give it her all. And say, nut tonight. And that's what I want. I want to see her come back, and I want her to nut all over that competition and take the crown. I want her to be top 3 with Jay and with Sigourney. And I want to see what that final floor show would look like, because I know that she would give it. And I think that of every single one of them is that they would go in with determination and readiness and eagerness to show their elevated drag style and filter everything the Boulets want through their unique perspective on drag. I think this season would have enough drama, enough spice, enough zest, enough messiness, enough glamour to really keep this season rolling without ever feeling like it hit a stop. I don't think that there would ever be a particular monster that would slow it down and make us all think, now why did you get cast over everyone else? This would be a killer season, and if the Boulets ever want to do a Titans, this is who I would love to see. Let me know who is on your wish list and who you would like to see if in some theoretical future the Boulets ever did something. Titans or Resurrection adjacent. It probably won't happen, but it doesn't hurt to wish for it. Goodbye. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to click that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Goodbye.